I've owned this 2007 E92 335i for about 3 months, 4 months now. I bought it back in August. I've been bringing this project car back to life. It was in atrocious condition before I got it. But one of the things that has bugged me with this E92 since I got it, that the E36 had, all my newer BMWs had, one thing that was bugging me, there was no water temp gauge. Now, this one is the sports package with an engine oil cooler. So funny enough, I have an oil temperature gauge on the inside from the factory, which is phenomenal. Like with my E36 and tracking, that's what I want. But it has it from the factory, but it doesn't have a water temp gauge. I don't understand why, it just doesn't. So I wanted to get something to install that. I figured I had one of two options. My first option was to buy this setup. Now, if I bought one of these gauges, I would have had to have found a spot to plug in that sensor. The most common one would be to buy this adapter. That means I'm cutting apart a coolant hose, and I just didn't really want to do that. That also meant I'm going to have to run wires into the cabin, run a gauge in there, and figure out where to mount it, and figure out how to get those wires through. That's a big undertaking that I didn't really want to do, and that was going to cost me probably about $150 just to get that setup done. My second option was what I went with, which is this. It's an OBD reader that mounts on the side that just plugs into the OBD port, and on the inside actually looks pretty good. Let's take a look on the inside here, and it sits right there out of the way. The wire comes in, tucks behind that panel, and then comes down to the OBD port here. The car already knows what the water temp is, and it just tells me, so I didn't have to wire in an additional sensor. The car already knows. When I turn on the car, it comes to life, and it tells me more than just the water temp. It's going to tell me like my speed, my RPMs. I have a speed limit, so this will flash red when I go over a certain amount. The time, volts, PSI, air fuel ratio. It tells me all of that, as well as the engine coolant temp. And there's also other settings that you can go through to see what it looks like. One thing that's cool too is it can actually read codes. So OBD diagnose, go in, enter. I have it scan, and it actually tells me you have an O2 sensor. So my engine light's on, I have the O2 sensor. So not only does it tell me what my water temperatures are, it also tells me other information. It can scan to see the codes right away. So I don't have to unplug it, plug in my scanner. It just tells me what the codes are right away. And one of the best mods that I've done to the E92, it cost me like $65 Canadian. Now, it doesn't look the best. Yes, you could mount it. It could be a little bit better. I have it just suction cupped to the window, and I removed the base plate. There was a base plate that came with it. I tried to put it on, it wasn't sticking. So I have it stuck on the window. I have the brightness turned all the way down because it's a little bright at night, but this way I can actually see my temperature rising up, or else the car doesn't even tell you your temperature. Either if it's overheating, you get a message and that's it. At least this way I can tell, I can see it creeping. When I first had the car, I was getting an engine light and it was giving me a, what was it? It was giving me a water temp code. Basically, it wasn't getting to operating temperature fast enough. I got the water gauge and I could tell that I was never getting past like 70 degrees Celsius because my thermostat was stuck open. So that was a good way to diagnose it without having to pay for the shop. Once I could see, hey, my temperatures are only going up when I'm idling, and as soon as I start going, it's dropping down because my thermostat is stuck open. I replace the thermostat and then I can see my operating temperature. So overall, that OBD reader water gauge is like the best thing for this E92. Very happy with it. Very shameful that BMW doesn't include this from the factory. When we go into the next generation, the F30, it's back, but at least we get a oil temperature gauge, which is pretty cool, especially for track use cars. So I always like to keep an eye on my temperature so I can see it creeping up. If I know it's overheating, I can shut my car off before the car actually knows it. If I see it going to 110, yeah, the car is getting shut down. But yeah, I just want to make this quick YouTube video so that you guys know. I'll leave a link in the description below if you guys are interested in purchasing it. Hopefully you guys found this information useful. If you guys did, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel for future E92 content, and I'll see you guys on the next video.